You're listening to the Death Rattle Crew, a Hearthstone podcast.
DRC, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Death Rattle Crew, a Hearthstone podcast. This is episode 45. I am one of your hosts, Mike Heck-Duhern, joined by, we'll just start with the legend formerly known as Jeremy. Hello, sir.
What is up? How's it going, man?
Fantastic, fantastic. Next up, Mr. Matt Mushu Hill.
Step.
Very good. I like that. That was quick, to the point. But last but not least, Mr. Bradford Lee. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. We are live and hopefully issue free on Twitch finally. We've had a really good discussion even before the audio started recording about computers and life. I don't know. It was deep. It was real deep. So yeah,
computers are life.
Yeah. If you come on the stream, you'll see some of the fun stuff that we normally put. If you didn't know, spoilers, most of the time, we put little tales at the end of the podcast. So if you haven't checked those out, you should.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me too.
So let's just start. Who wants to go first? What's going on this week? I know we have a lot to talk about, but let's get real. Let's talk about our personal lives.
I feel like we start with Mr. Flash and Eva.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm not starting because you guys have apparently been playing way better decks than me. I played the. All right, I'll tell you what. I will start. I played the Pally Anyfin Can Happen deck a lot, yeah. And that deck is awesome.
I haven't tried that yet.
It is really, really freaking fun, and I'm waiting for it to get nerfed real hard. They're going to make Anyfin cost 11 mana instead of 10.
Must save coin.
Right.
Yeah. No wasting this coin.
Yeah. Or play Thorazon.
So like, has it been really, really good for you?
No, it hasn't been good for me, but it's been good for people who are much better players than me. I've watched a lot of people streaming it.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of people streaming it, and they're doing really good with it. And then I'm at like 50% win rate or something like that.
I wonder.
But the deck is awesome. For people who haven't played this deck yet, basically the idea is you're running a really heavy control paladin, and you'll have to forgive me because I don't know any of the Murlocs names besides Old Murk-Eye. You run the one Old Murk-Eye, you run the Old Stink Eye.
Yeah, that's what he's really called.
You run two of the Murloc War Leaders, which I think that's the one that gives Murlocs +2/+1.
Yep.
So it's the one that gives stat buff without a battle cry, and then the two charge Murlocs. The 2/1 with charge. So you basically just run those 5 Murlocs in a control paladin shell, and you just stall till late game, and then you cast your first Anyfin Can Happen, which is basically it summons those exact Murlocs, assuming your opponent isn't also playing Murlocs, and it hits your opponent really, really hard. I think it's somewhere in between 16 and 20. And if that doesn't kill them, then you cast your second one, which will kill them.
And the second one, doesn't it get back all the ones that died plus the ones that died after the first Anyfin? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it gives you basically double.
Anyfin says that it can summon any Murlocs that have died this turn. So that's why that's why you only play those specific Murlocs, because you either want Murlocs that buff your Murlocs or you want Murlocs that have charge. Because the idea is Anyfin is basically Grommash. It's going to kill them the turn that you play it. And everything else in the deck is built around trying not to die. So basically, it's really, really good against every control deck. It's really, really good against Reno, because it doesn't care that you cast Reno and went back to full health. It's just going to kill you anyway. It's really good against, I would say it's pretty okay against aggro. There's a lot of it still plays shielded minibot. It still plays muster for battle. It plays double zombie chow. So it's got a lot of early game. It plays double healbot, or the version I did. I'm playing double sludge belcher in place of a lot of people run double drake just to cycle and try and get to your end game. A lot of versions are running 2 lay on hands, which is actually really bad against aggro. It's really good against control mirrors. But the deck is awesome. The deck is a lot of fun. It's the most fun I've had playing Hearthstone probably months. Really, really
lot of fun decks. Like I think any Finn, even the Shaman Murloc is fun, and then Reno Lock is very much a lot of fun. Just because it's just having like 30 unique cards is very cool. I find.
Yeah, I've never been this bad at Hearthstone, but this excited about playing Hearthstone. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I've been getting the shit kicked out of me.
Yeah, it's really bad. But and that's a good thing, I think, because literally you can play almost anything.
Anything?
Basically, anything. You can play anything.
Whoa.
No, I seriously do think, like, looking back, if you just look at the last year's worth of decks that have come out, most of them are viable.
Yes.
Face Hunter's really bad. Hunter in general is really bad right now. Just because there's so much pally, and that's Hunter's worst matchup. I mean, there's a couple of different types of warriors. There's like 3 or 4 different types of pallies. There's 3 or 4 different types of mage that are all viable. Warlock is just anything you can possibly imagine, any Finn you can possibly imagine. Every Finn is viable, I guess you would say.
That's man.
That any Finn deck. I played against. I don't know if it was actually Strife Crow, but this guy was playing as the name Strife Crow, and his build had Cult Masters in it, and then basically the idea was to cycle the deck as quickly as possible. Felt very much like the old Grim Patron builds, even the Grim Patron builds of today. Well, it felt like the Grim Patron builds where it's just digging all the time, just trying to dig as quick as it can and get through its deck as fast as possible.
That probably was the Strife Crow version. His is super greedy. His is lots, and he plays double. He even was playing 2 Hammer of Wrath, which are the deal 3 damage draw a card.
Yeah. That's exactly what he was playing. Yep. I've actually seen that same list like 2 or 3 times since that, but I played against him first with it, and I was like, okay, I see what's going on. I think I don't know if I won that game, but I've kind of gone 50-50 on that matchup for the most part since I've played. I played it 2 or 3 times since then. So
what are you playing?
All kinds of decks. I'm on the same. I'm on Mushu plan right now, which is I've been switching between decks constantly.
Dude, I was talking to Avery like about it, and
yeah,
he was saying it's like the hardest season yet.
I agree.
Like 100%. It is the hardest. Like at least at the moment, in that we're in the second. We'll come up on the second week of the season where it's so brutal, dude. I have played 150 games this season, and I have like a 2-game advantage. Like I'm like 77 to 75. So it's 152 games, and yeah, I've just been getting the shit kicked out of me with everything I play. It's like I was talking to another one of my friends who played a lot. Like I didn't play on the first day or for most of the second day, but it was like second half of the second day. That's when I started grinding. And one of my mates was saying he just farmed like the aggro decks because there's that influx of just aggro, like your face hunters and shit on day one. And he was saying he was just farming with like a priest deck or something to just abuse the shit out of the aggro. And that's what gave him the majority of the stars. And he's having like extreme difficulty breaking like into the top 5 ranks. And I noticed you were, I was watching your stream for like quite a while the other night. And it's like, we'll hit legend aiming for a legend by Wednesday. And I was like, oh, he wants to be legend for the podcast. And then like the next day, it's just, you'd gone backwards, and it's just like, oh man,
Yep.
this is how I feel.
It's funny because like I felt like I was just gonna breeze all the way to legend at first, and it was because of that hobgoblin deck. I cruised. I blew through the everything at first because no one knew how to play against it. People weren't expecting it. I mean, I was going turn 2 hobgoblin wisp tiny fins and just blowing people out, just like destroying the meta for a couple days. And then when everybody shifted a little bit, it wasn't as good, and I kind of like stabilized it. Like I think rank 4 is where I'm at right now, but I think I stabilized it around rank 5. And it's been tough because, and I really wanted to discuss this, and I'm glad we brought it up at this particular time because it fits perfectly with one of the things I wanted to discuss this week, which is that because there's more decks, it's going to be harder to find a wins every single matchup kind of deck like Grim Patron was, or other top of the meta decks were before. Even Secretin is kind of it's still probably the best deck, but it's kind of falling out of favor a little bit.
I agree. Yeah,
and that makes it harder to predict the meta as well because for people who play Magic, this is just kind of like a side track. I play a lot of Legacy, and Legacy is a format that's 25 years old. Like it's literally 25 years worth of Magic, and it has all of these decks in it. Like I'm talking like if you think about Hearthstone now, Hearthstone has like 25, 30 viable decks for climbing to Legend with right now. So that's a lot of decks to have that are viable for climbing to Legend. And obviously some of those are slight variants on other decks, but having so many diverse options available, it's just impossible to play a deck that's going to have game against every single matchup. And because of that, it's just that, as you were saying, Mushu, it's just harder and harder to climb to Legend because there's just so much diversity on the ladder, as well as there's no dominant deck that you can meta against right now. I mean, yeah, granted, Secretin is probably the top tier deck, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like it's dominant enough that it's shifting the meta where people are either playing it or dramatically shifting everything around that particular deck. So I don't know. It just makes it really, really tough to game the meta. And so what I've been doing as of like the last 2 days is one of two things. I've been playing off-beat decks, like off the beaten path decks, like decks that people don't know about, or it's a deck that I've brewed up and it's got weird cards and weird options so that people are playing suboptimally because they're like, oh, that must be Strife Crow's Anyfin list, and if people think it's that Anyfin list and I'm on a completely different Anyfin list, I'm going to be able to throw people off balance a little that way. And I think the best way to play this meta is either going that direction, which is building your own obscure deck, or playing the best decks, tier 1 only. If you really want to make Legend, you got to be playing these really obscure decks, or you need to be playing like Secretin, like mid-range Paladin, or I'm trying to think what else would be up there, but like basically the Paladin list right now. But yeah, so I don't know. It's been an interesting climb this month.
Yeah. Matt, how about you?
Hang on. What is a goober, Jeremy? And what does it have to do with the price of fish?
No, let's just keep going. No one who's listening to the podcast has any idea what you're talking about.
For those of you playing at home, Jeremy said Mushu's goober is little, and me being from Australia.
Wait, I've never heard of that as referred to as a goober.
Yeah. What is a goober, Jeremy?
A goober is a penis. That's what that means.
I've never.
Goober, man.
I've heard of like, oh, you're such a goober, but I never. No, that's not what it is.
Yeah, Google image.
Nope.
Google image goober.
Nope, not happening.
Classic Mike.
No, we'll see how that works.
Mike's playing Hearthstone on the stream.
On the stream, yeah, fantastic.
Oh wait, how'd that happen?
Guys,
technical difficulties.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is how interesting doing a podcast is to Mike. He has to say to himself.
He was live streaming the podcast with our faces, and now he's just like, screw you guys, we'll play a game instead.
I'm going over here now.
Man,
I didn't click that. What the heck?
True lie. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't, buddy.
Now we know why Mike talks the least of any of us.
That is not true. That is not true.
Dude, Avery used to do that. He used to shit me off. It was like, he's playing a game, and sometimes it affects his comment, like what he was saying. I was like, Avery, you piece of shit, just get your shit.
Well, that's because like he plays ranked while he does it. Like,
yeah.
If I play during the podcast, hardcore. I'm playing like Tavern Brawl, where it's like, oh, I had lethal, don't care. Like it's
I
Tavern
kind of
Brawl.
want to try it now. Honestly, I want to see how good I can be if I'm streaming or doing the podcast and playing.
I always thought like I didn't want to do it because I thought my clicks would be audible, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to compromise the clarity and nice soundingness of the podcast.
Mhm.
But
You know what you could do to make your clicks non-audible would be to buy an iPad, and then you don't have to click anything.
Is that what this is?
But then
about?
but then I get like that kind of noise. It's just like,
the thumb taps.
yeah. But yeah.
Well, then you just record the podcast on your phone.
In reference to your initial question, I have been playing a shit ton of Hearthstone. But the salt has risen. It's just been I have not had a good time. I played like the biggest like breakthrough when I sort of ground through, I guess, like the teens into the like rank 10 and shit. I was all with that Zalay Hobo Zoo thing. And that was just because, same thing as Brad. I just ruffle stomped my way through because people had no idea what was going on, and it was so ridiculous. Like you get, but when you're ahead, you get like the Reliquary Seeker goes to like a 7/7 because you get the Hobgoblin buff plus her own battle cry, and it's just like GG. And then later that night, I ran into a freeze mage and got trashed by him, and then queued back into him and lost. I think there was a point where what did I do? Something happened, and I only rolled a 2. I think I had somehow I ended up with, it might have been an implosion or something. Something strange happened. And I rolled very low with something and didn't kill the Doomsayer and cried myself to sleep.
Oh.
And that basically started my descent into GGville, where I just got like pummeled with each deck. Like I played what have I played this season? I played a shit ton. I played a decent amount of the Shaman deck, which that is really good. I was watching Avery play that last night, and I think
Aggro Shaman?
Face Shaman.
Yeah, the Burr Shaman, the one where it's just like
and we're going to talk about that later. Well, we're going to talk about the Hobo deck too, but yeah.
So I've been playing Druid. I played a little bit of Face Hunter. I played a decent amount of Mech Mage. I played some Secret Paladin. I played a little bit. I played 2 games of mid-range Paladin and just got absolutely spanked. So I was like, man, fuck this. But in theory, I should give it another. I will probably end up giving it another crack. I played Zoo. I played Reno Lock. I played, obviously, this is Lake Cancer. I played a couple of games of like the new patron, but I went with the like Super JJ's latest build. It's just like I'm not obviously not on his level, and it cut out like boom and shit and a couple of things in that later tier. So it just goes from lower Theb to Grommash, and that's something that just doesn't work with the way I play. I think it was pointed out to me that I have a very aggressively focused like thinking style. In terms of like, it's all about the face.
Smork 'em.
And a little bit of control area, and so I've just been like jumping around and shit.
And
I've been also playing since I was saying off the beaten path decks. I've been playing my because of that Shaman deck that we were just talking about. I've been playing a deck that I played a long time ago. It's my my Pingtron 3000 deck, as I like to call it. It's like Blingtron and a bunch of ping effects like Flame Wakers, Goblin Blast Mages, like all the ways that mage has to arcane missiles, just a bunch of ways to ping all the way through. And I've been playing that deck a lot. But yeah, it's like incredibly aggressive version of it. And the reason I've been playing is because of that aggro Shaman deck, because you get access to a Noyatron, which literally just blanks their Doom or their the hammer, or Doom Hammer.
Yeah.
And it also runs 2 Snow Chuggers, 2 Frostbolts, and then a Blingtron as well. And so all those things just wreck that matchup because they want to burst you for like 16. And so on turn 6, I'm like holding a Noyatron, and I'm like, okay, they're going to go to 6 mana next turn with no overload, put down a Noyatron. And then they'll put down their Doom Hammer, clear the Noyatron. I'll be like, sweet, Blingtron. And then I'll give them a new weapon, and I'll just be like, gotcha. And unless I give them another Doomhammer, generally that just wins the game right there.
Right.
It's been, and I don't know, it's been really, really good for me, but it's also been, again, still has the same issue of all the other decks. It's not dominant enough to put me to Legend. It's been able to help me, win 60% of games and slowly gain 1 star per every hour or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's taken a while. It's just the meta right now.
What about you, Mikey? What aside from broadcasting the sounds live on the
Gotta
podcast?
love that,
What?
man.
Man,
We'll get this
I
ironed
saw-
out.
Man, Oprah Winfrey saves our lives.
If you become like, what the heck is going on? No. So I'm kind of like what you guys were saying, where the first week I've been playing a lot of Zulok and that Dragon Priest with Brand Bronzebeard, and it did really well. But this last week,
I wanna die.
yeah, it's just been really bad. Just really, really, it's difficult. I mean, the games are slower. I want, I kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit in Meta Anatomy, but
Play
I
the
don't
drop.
know.
Let's do it.
yeah, I
Been
mean,
dropping the
really, it's
sounds.
just Reno has done a lot to this game. In
It
my
really
opinion.
has.
And I like that, because I think what you're saying, Brad. It's you don't really know what you're seeing, and it is easier to kind of drop in your own little, one-offs into a deck that people don't
Yeah.
expect, and I like that. I think the game is. I'm gonna ask and see what you guys think. I feel like this game's in one of the best places it's been in. So
Oh
far.
yeah, in terms of like not queuing into the same thing, it's arguable, because I'd say I've queued into like nearly a third of my games have been against Paladin.
Okay.
And so
Yeah, I would say the
that's
same.
the only thing. Like, but that's partly because there are sort of like 3 viable versions of Paladin at the moment. You've got your mid range. Well, I suppose 4 with the Murloc one. So you got the mid range Paladin. You've got Secret Paladin. You've got like this aggro Paladin kind of shit where they just sort of leverage you with like Divine Favor and Leper Gnomes and shit like that. And then obviously the Murloc Paladin. So it's kind of hard when there's 4 like top level iterations of a class.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'd say obviously it's the same thing with Mage, in that there are a bunch of iterations that you can queue up against, but because none of them are like top tier, you don't see Mage as much. So I suppose if Freeze Mage, Tempo Mage, and Mech Mage were like top tier, then you would probably see a shit ton more of them. But I think that's the second most class I've seen has been Mage. Yeah, maybe Shaman. I don't know. There's been a lot of crap.
The best part of this meta is that, with the exception of like face shaman, aggro just really isn't that good.
No.
I don't know how you can
Yeah.
say that with Burr Shaman being top.
Yeah.
Well, that's the exception, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Like,
saying.
what other
Obviously,
aggro decks?
like
I mean, there's like aggro secret in, but like that's just a variant on something.
So
else.
you're talking like traditional, just like Face Hunter isn't that good at the moment.
well, yeah, face hunter's bad. Face hunter is actively terrible. But I
don't
mean,
think it's bad. I just don't think it's like it's not tier 1,
not-
and just because something's not tier 1 doesn't mean it's automatically bad.
I don't
Yeah,
think it's tier
I just
2
don't
or
think it's well
3.
positioned right now. Because here's the thing, Seer Paladin is where that deck shined before, right? It was really good there. But now that deck's even running like Keeper of Oldemon, and so it's getting 3/3s. So your explosive traps are worse. You've got like there's a lot of things that are just starting to stack up against it. You've got Reno floating around. Like there's just the deck is just not well positioned at all. It's still a good deck.
Yeah,
it's still a very strong deck. It's just very badly positioned right now.
Yeah, but like
Just
I get, I understand that. Like, but obviously, there are going to be a ton of games where they don't draw Reno, and obviously, I would say that in most Face Hunter matchups, anytime someone Renos for like more than 10, you're probably fucked, because I don't know if you have
Sure.
enough power to keep going. But yeah, but like not all decks. There's very small. I'd say probably quite a small percentage of decks at the moment are running Reno. Like I'd say everyone, the majority of the field is like Paladin, shaman, and like it may be like some. Probably the third is where you start in those Reno warlocks and things like that. But I'd say the majority of the games you have are not going to be Reno games. And for those games, Face Hunter is viable because as soon as they stall like a turn, that's where you just keep smashing in the face. But as you said,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, I thought that Face Hunter was bad against Reno Warlock, and I based that on basically what you're saying. Is that they're not going to always draw it. The problem is like with the Reno Warlock playing so much early game now, because it plays basically like two or three different spells at every mana cost. So it's kind of just flat across the board. I played a guy, one of my buddies. We just were kind of trying to test the matchup and see, all right, how good is Face against Reno Warlock? And I lost. We played 5 games and I won 1 of them. That's a pretty small sample size. But the 4 that I lost, I was not even close. Like I would get him to 6 and then he would Reno. And he got Reno every time because he aggressively mulliganed for Reno. And you would be, he's getting 3 extra draws per game usually. And like you said, as soon as they drop Reno, it's just over. Like there's no way to come back from that.
Right. That's the real problem is just like you were saying, they're aggressively mulliganing for it. And even if they don't find it, like 2/3 of the time, it's that fact that 1/3 of every game that you play as Face Hunter against Reno Lock, you're not going to win, period. Just because they have Reno. Like you're going to expunge so many resources, and then they're going to put a 4/6 on the board, and that 4/6 basically says win the game. And that it doesn't. You can still technically win that matchups in that circumstance, but it's going to take a lot to win through a Reno.
Yeah, I'd probably argue like that it mightn't be worth your time. Unless you've got like a really stable board, and that's where you can win is when they haven't been able to clear your board, and you can just keep smashing. When you have I'd say 10 damage on the board, just ready to go next turn or something like that is what you'd want to keep playing against Reno. But I'd say just by how quick a lot of Face Hunter decks, where you're saving the time is just cutting out the middleman and just conceding if they Reno for more than 15 or something.
Yeah.
Just be like, nah, fuck this shit. I'm moving on. All right. I saw you playing Face Hunter, Mr. It's not that good right now.
It's not.
You're like, I remember the line exactly. I just want to get through these ladder games quickly, and I'd rather just flip. And I was just like, oh, Bradford.
Well, see, okay, the strat
how the mighty have fallen.
The strategy
I understand
was just to try and stay above 55% win condition or win percentage, and just as you were saying, just cycle through games as quickly as possible. Because at that point, I'm gaining stars quicker to legend, and then I can play whatever the hell I want at that point. Once I get to legend, I don't care what I'm playing. It's just getting to legend is the hardest. I mean,
even once you get to rank 4 or 5, you can stop worrying about all the super aggressive decks, with the exception of this Face Shaman deck. This Face Shaman deck's weird just because it has so much burn.
Yeah. Well, and the reason it's so good too is with the mid-range Paladin decks floating around. Again, they're running 2 Keeper Voldemon and sometimes 2. What's the other one that shrinks dudes? The 3-mana one. Anyone? Bueller.
Aldor Peacekeeper.
Bueller. Aldor Peacekeeper. So Aldor Peacekeeper and Keeper Voldemon just shut down so many decks that even the aggressive decks for the most part can't keep up with it. So you're gonna play a Fel Reaver, sweet, you have a 1/8, or it's a 3/3 Fel Reaver, awesome. And so that's why I think another reason why Shaman deck is so well positioned, because it bursts and it doesn't care what the life or what the total of its creatures are. It's just okay, sweet, I've got a 3/3 now, awesome. Here's a Doomhammer, take 16, or something. Just dome you for so much, it's just and then they just burn you out. They don't care that what you're doing at all. They're just all right, I ran out of stuff. Here, take 2 lava bursts and take this. Here, have a lightning bolt. So
right. Quick, jump into meta anatomy so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh wait, till the fucking Brad.
And welcome to meta anatomy.
Useless.
Well,
I got distracted.
We're actually going to get into that. Before we go into meta anatomy, we do have an email.
Bullshit.
James wrote
man.
in just like you can at mail@deathrattlecrew.com, and he writes, DRC guys, love the show. Keep it up. I'm paraphrasing. It was a pretty long email. But basically what he got
verbatim. Come on.
yeah, the verbatim was basically bots. Basically what he says is I remember seeing bots, like a year or two, because I remember seeing those like a year and a half ago. He says, I've been seeing a few, not as many as there used to be, but a few here and there. Have you guys run into the same thing? Are bots back on the rise?
No.
I didn't think so either. I feel like I saw one like 2 weeks ago, but that was the only one. It was one of those like stuttered movements where it's picks it up, attacks, picks it up, attack. It was like more slower and more methodical and robotic than like someone using an iPad.
I feel like I think that it's such like an easy thing to track in Hearthstone, bot movements, because there's so much like, I guess, axis movement with the mouse. And the last banhammer wave of bot bans that Blizzard did, what he's referencing, the first time it happened, I think that sunk in enough it doesn't seem that, and I don't feel like it's profitable enough to like bot in Hearthstone at the moment.
No.
Yeah,
I never played. I never played when it was a thing.
It was pretty
Shaman.com.
when I first started playing, like I remember listening to podcasts and people were talking about, I saw so many bots and stuff. But I think I was just so new to the game that I couldn't really tell anyway.
Sure.
I was just losing games a lot.
There were a lot. There were a lot of them. Like it's not 50% or anything. I don't know. One out of every
17%.
Exactly.
17.3.
Repeating,
17.893%.
I don't know.
Good snowballing estimate, I'd say.
Go with it. Yeah, I don't know. 1 in 7, 1 in 8, 1 in 10, something like that. I mean, you saw them enough where it's like, another bot.
Well, see, I would like that. Like, then you don't have to mute, because I auto squelch every game.
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't have to like do that. Yeah. By the way, they should just make that a feature. I know this is not in his email, but
no, we've talked about
the fact that you can't just auto squelch.
I wish it was.
I agree.
You go into your little gearbox, go to options, and it's just squelch. Like, just don't even bother. Somebody at somebody in BlizzCon asked about them adding chat to the game. And it was funny because there were a couple people that were like, yeah, everyone else said, like, it was one of those, like, everyone looks at their buddy next to him and goes, what the hell is this guy talking about? We do not need that in this game.
It's like that's an approach. It's an excellent approach they made with this in Heroes, is not having Series of Storm does not have like all chat in.
Right.
There might be in ranked games, but at least in like quick play, I know I haven't played any ranked, but in the quick play there isn't. And it's such a good thing because you just cut out so much cancer.
I'm pretty sure League of Legends, there was an option to auto opt out of global chat, and I like that's all it was.
League of Legends, it's pretty customizable as to what you see and don't see. There's the global mute for you can even mute your own team, and you can like just in game just toggle people.
Right.
It's really good for that. Like in that you have. The cancer control is right there for you. But
in every game where it's an option, I auto mute everyone.
Right. We don't like people. We're too old for that stuff.
No. Well, and it's mostly because I am an old man and I'm just playing a bunch of kids and I play Hearthstone. Dude, and I don't want to talk to children.
Stop saying that. You're you're not even a year older than me, are you?
I don't know. I'm 31.
I'm
so
30.
It's not that old.
Old man.
When's your birthday?
October.
Jeez.
Oh, you're okay. So
October.
You're just barely close to. No, a little less than a year. Okay.
Back to this guy's email though. Like, how do you? I'm a guy who's never seen bots, or at least I don't know that I've seen bots. How would I notice if it's a bot? I mean,
it was the movements. Like they take. So how the bots would work, from what I've seen, is the computer looks at the hand, looks at the board, makes some calculations, and then plays out the hand. But there may be plays where you're like, why did that guy play that in that order? Like he would attack with a minion and then play like a buff minion, like a abusant sergeant or something. And it's like, why wouldn't you just play the abusive sergeant and then attack with it and do the extra 2 damage? Or the movements they would like, they'd mouse over something, drag it up, arrow on face, go to something else, pick it up, and it was all timed and it just looked robotic.
It was always a shaman.
It was always a shaman. Yeah.
So what's the complaint about bots?
So for me, it was how slow the games went.
Automating gameplay, GG. Like as soon as you automate gameplay, it's like a major breeze. Because like, man, why should I have to grind from rank 18 to rank 5 when I could just press play and walk away and come back and be rank 5? I mean,
go to work and come back.
Exactly.
Good day of climbing ladder today.
And some people got like I read something about a few people getting a legend, but apparently it would go pretty far before like errors, or not even errors. It was just better human judgment than the computer.
Sure.
Or the I'll put it this way: the programming wasn't good enough. But
yeah, well, see, if it's always shaman, it seems like it wouldn't be very good anyway.
I don't know. I mean,
it wasn't bad. It was like an aggro, like very linear shaman.
But that was again back when shaman was pretty good too, or decent.
Well, it's. I don't think it's not so much that it was decent. It was that everything else wasn't as good by comparison.
Yeah,
it's like everything. I don't know. It's very sort of like flat.
Crusher Shaman was pretty good back in the day. I played that deck quite a bit.
But I don't think that's necessarily because Shaman was good. I think it's because there wasn't as many good other cards.
Yeah.
So I guess it's sort of that glass half empty, half full, depending on which side of the perspective you land on.
Like it wouldn't play Miracle Rogue, obviously. Yeah, I don't know. And then I just want to say that Oprah Winfrey said, "Well, I disagree with that. I want chat."
I mean, I want chat too. I kind of really on that side.
Yeah, I don't. It would just be so bad. Like the number of people that I find out that are having sex with my mother would just grow exponentially. Like I already get that on Xbox. Like,
wait a minute, you too?
Like half of Xbox Live has sex with my mom. Slut. So I don't need to meet the other half of people that have sex with my mother. Like,
God, your mom's really into Xbox Live.
I guess. I'm glad I'm not on PlayStation. I don't know.
Oh, PlayStation. I get it. It's like a sexual pun.
I get it.
Play with PlayStation.
Yeah, like he was saying, just include an option to auto mute. Oh, if there's an option to auto mute, go for it. That's fine. Because then let people just chat away, be like, "Look, I'm pissing this guy off," and I'm like, "I have no idea what you're saying."
But like, so the option's there to talk after the game, and I think that's really sort of the idea. Is because could you imagine like how much I feel like there would be, I guess, an outcry almost to extend turn time if you could talk to one another, because instead of just focusing on your turn, you're reading chat, you're thinking about a response to the chat, and it takes focus away from the game.
Yeah,
and I think that's very not what like Blizzard's focus, in that this game needs to be over in like 5 minutes, because you got to get off the bus and keep walking, and then you're supposed to just be mashing away on your phone and then to fill in the blank time. And
chat in tournaments would be really, really fun though, because if you got like Firebat who BMs a lot, so Firebat versus like Forzen in a tournament, the chat would just be amazing. I would care way more about the chat than I would the actual game.
I guess chat would be limited on like tablets and phones though too. Think about maybe the number of people.
It's already
if it's difficult to do. It's difficult. It's time consuming to pull up the chat window, and like if your buddy talks to you on and then you can't see the screen, so now you're typing with your fingers. So
that is true that it would slow down the game, because like whenever I play a game and I'm talking to somebody on chat on screen, or on Hearthstone at the same time, I'm distracted with the chat, and yeah, just like you were saying, the games are just going to go longer on average. I guess that's a potential reason not to include it.
I just don't think it's just that sort of functionality that I don't think we need. I personally don't think it's like that necessary. I think anything that you want to talk about is fine to talk about after the game, like obviously, and I think the implied like downside is much bigger than the upside of having chat.
And I agree with you though that like they shouldn't use resources on it. That's the way I feel about it though. Like if you're going to use resources on something, develop tournament mode or something else. Right. Don't don't program chat into the game, you know, like, over something else.
I don't even think like tournament mode necessarily. Like, obviously, that the whole like jump into an 8-man kind of thing is kind of cool, but I think it's so fringe in terms of people's desire for it. It's like I just don't think it'll happen. Maybe if Hearthstone starts dying and they need to like grasp at some straws or something to try and reboot. I just don't think it's like the primary direction. I think the main concern at the moment in terms of feature adding is just continuously going to be addressing free to play and like the state of non-paying players.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the only thing Blizzard currently cares about is getting more money from people who aren't currently giving them enough money.
That's the same thing with. I'd say that's probably the same with like most businesses, though, is to optimize profits and you do that through customer satisfaction, and
which is weird because they introduced the hero portraits like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, almost a year ago. How long has that been?
It's been a while, but
it's early this year.
Yeah, and those are cosmetic changes, have no effect on the game. Like universally, they were pretty poorly accepted. But I think the people who wanted them bought them. They could release another 6 of them and get more money. And I don't know.
I think things. They will eventually. Like there's just stagger it. I mean, because if you release them too often, then there's not enough hype behind them. Like if there's like 8 months between releasing batches of 3, then the people who bought the 3 originally are more likely to buy the other 3 because they've had the time to wait, use Medivh, use Bronzebeard and shit, and just be like, man, I could go for another skin when they release, the other 3.
I will never purchase them.
Yeah, I just don't like. I might purchase one I would buy them if they had a sale on because like the Australian dollar is doing like fucking terribly at the moment. Like we're buying under 70 US cents at the moment. We're just getting fucked in the ass in terms of from an economic standpoint. It's just they're going to dry. Rip mining boom. We have. There are no coins in Australia anymore, boys and girls.
So you're in the bust period now, I'm guessing entirely.
The what period?
The bust period. The boom bust period.
Surely mean the dry period, as he just
dry
said.
period. Yeah.
What is the boom bust period?
It's the mining idea. It's like miners go in, they like gold mine or whatever they're mining, and it's like the boom period, and everyone's happy because they're all making money, and then like the wells dry up and there's no more things to mine, and then it's the bust period.
That's more or less what's going on because up very far north from where I live, there was the quote unquote mining boom, and all the big companies in Australia were there doing shit, and you can make like $100,000 being a cleaner up there and that sort of thing. Back like 3-4 years ago, but it's all done now, Bradford. It's it's
CG.
The only profitable way to make money in Australia is play Hearthstone these days, and
okay. So everybody, that's where all the bots are coming from. Everybody's just automating.
Australia, that makes sense. Yeah, I blame you.
That's
Fun
the
fact.
new mining.
Fun fact. I heard this the other day that like Australia and the contiguous part of the USA is like the same size, like so not including Alaska
Something
and
like
and like
the continental US. Yeah.
I think
that's
so
right.
and so we have less than 10% of your population. I think we have the same population as California.
Oh, okay.
Which is like 20 mil somewhere. Like there's like 23 million people in Australia, and it's the same size. But obviously, because we're mostly focused in like a couple of cities around the fringe, and the majority of Australia is just like open space, which obviously in the next 100 years or so will probably start being occupied as they, I guess, terraform the desert almost.
I'll move out there. That sounds so much better than any place that I currently live. I want to live out there in the middle of nowhere. That's my goal in life.
Don't you already live out in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it's just I'm still in the middle of nowhere, America, which means it's not like
it's not.
There's
cool.
still too many people. There's too many people.
There's still not enough ways to be killed.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just wake up dead like you can in Australia. It's like shit, something happened.
The only thing that's gonna get me out here are people. I don't want them anyways.
No, ain't got time for people. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
No.
But you know what we do have time for?
Meta-anatomy.
Oh,
Meta-anatomy.
DRC would like to thank Brainiacs for their support of this podcast. If you have a tech idea for improving your business's workflow, Brainiacs can provide a turnkey solution to specifically fit your needs. You can contact them at www.brainiux.com.
And welcome back. This is Meta-anatomy, your one weekly stop for everything. Everything. Awesome. Everything meta in Hearthstone. I am Tattoo.
Awesome.
Joined by Bradford Lee, Mushu, and the legend formerly known as Jeremy. So, let's just go ahead and let's just start with the Shaman. Let's just do it. And this will kind of lead in because we still have some other decks to talk about, but I think we'll get to them eventually anyway. Here's what I saw. I was sitting at work looking at my phone, and those Google cards come up. If you have an Android phone, you kind of get it. And I'm looking at Tempo Storm, and it's like number one deck. So I'm like, let's go check it out. First one, Shaman.
What?
What is in the Shaman deck? So I have something funny about this deck that just made me go, oh yeah, that's pretty funny. Of course the deck's really good now. So I'm looking at the deck list. And basically, for those of you who haven't seen it or played it yet, it is a very aggressive, just RNG, like just go to the face for a lot or go to the face for nothing. I guess unless you get the no, it's RNG. It depends on the card you pull. It's just it is more face than face runner, I feel like. Yeah, it's so I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, what makes this deck any good? I'm looking, okay, this just looks like a face. Sir Finley Murgleton. The one card that changes what that card should read is get a 1/3, make the Shaman hero power better.
Yeah,
it's what that should. I literally started laughing at my desk when I saw that card in the list. I'm like, oh yeah, it's immediately the best deck out there, just because you don't have the hero power anymore. But I've lost to it a few times just because of I'm sitting at like 14 health or whatnot. Guys got a little something on the board. It was like a turn. It was clearing a bunch of stuff with a Doomhammer. Hit me for like 16 or something ridiculous. I had taunts up. Something happened where it's like, all right, he needs 14 damage even after he swings with his Doomhammer. He rolls a spell power totem.
And fucks you in the face.
Yeah, what is that? Lightning bolts for 4, and then out comes the crackle. Is it going to be 3 or 6 normal? Is it going to be 4 or 7? Hits me for 7, and it was exact lethal. Like, oh my god,
exacties.
I was sitting at 14.
I feel like the thing there is like if he had have hit for say 4, 5, or 6, would you have been able to recover? And like that's obviously you would have had the chance to recover, but like it's. Right. I was talking to Avery about this last night, and yeah, he was saying he reckons it's probably not. As much as it's RNG, it probably just finishes the game quicker.
I guess it depends on the turn. If it's really early and they've got a stacked or a lot of cards in their hand, yeah. I mean, so you're sitting on 2 or 3 health after they do that. You're like, okay, but they have 6 cards in their hand. What is the chance of them having another crackle or another, lightning bolt? I'm probably gonna die if he has what he needs. I mean, yeah. I totally agree. Yeah,
I played a bunch of this deck, and it's like a lot of it feels like kind of dirty sometimes, but I think it was very sort of, I only had like a marginal edge. I think I have currently like a 56% win rate on it. But something I noticed that Avery was doing, and he was winning a few games, is obviously the priority of playing things is a little bit different in this deck because a lot of your burn is from your hand. The way I was playing a lot more, I guess, minion focused kind of style, whereas and to the point where ancestral knowledge was quite low on my priority to play list, whereas it should be really high on your list.
Yeah, you should turn
because yeah, exactly. Avery was ancestral knowledging as soon as he could, and that just keeps the flow going, even if you kind of lose board a little bit. So that I think if you have an option to play like if you have an option to hero power or ancestral knowledge, you always like ancestral knowledge. Even if the hero power gives you slightly more board presence, the extra cards will help you draw into like the Wind Fury. The Rockbiter Doomhammer thing is where you get most of your damage.
Yeah.
I was trying a version with like Fell Reavers, which is it's not bad, but I think I might switch back to Vigilant and have a post podcast grind with it.
Now, a question I have, and tell me what you guys think based on what you've seen. I feel like, and we'll talk about some of the Reno decks and how the game or the meta's kind of changed a little bit. Do you feel like these aggro decks have to be fast and super greedy and RNG if that's what you think, like this, or to be competitive right now?
I honestly don't even think the Shaman deck is that RNG focused.
Really?
Yeah, it's not RNG focused. It's like being able to efficiently use Overload.
Yeah, it's all about efficiency for them.
It's like it's sort of like it comes back to that concept of like leveraging, in that I can do more to you than you can do to me. And for that reason, I can like skip your board, like not focus on your board. I can just go to face because I think the way I'm going to win this game is by doing more to you. And obviously there's some games that just absolutely snowball out of control from like a board perspective when you go Tunnel Trog into Totem Golem and then like, coin into like Feral Spirits or something, and that's sort of where you lose. And the thing is, sometimes when you have a consecration clear, you don't even win because they're just too far ahead.
Right.
And ancestral knowledge is the thing that really sort of helps this deck, is that because you have that draw, you have that little more synergy with Overload, because you can feed the tunnel. The Tunnel Trog also is like it smooths out the curve. It makes Zombie Chow not needed, and it scales with Overload. The fact that it scales with like each point of Overload is just fantastic. And just
it is really fantastic for that deck.
And it's like Lava Shock is just finally seems useful.
Yeah. Right. And that's why I think on turn 4 is when you want to cast your ancestral knowledge. So you want to cast your ancestral knowledge on turn 4. So then turn 5 you can cast a Lava Shock to bring back your overloaded mana crystals, and then that'll allow you to cast Feral Spirits that turn if you don't have a Doomhammer. Otherwise, you cast some other things that don't have Overload, and then you go to your turn 6 with no Overload at all, and you can go Doomhammer plus Rockbiter on turn 6, and that's always the ultimate goal. That's why I think it's a turn 4 play generally. Also, something else about that deck that I just thought about that's really incredible, and one of the reasons to play Sir Finley in the deck is the Druid hero power is really good with Doomhammer. Because after you use the first Doomhammer hit, the next turn you go to, you're going to have an Overload turn. So if you just literally use the hero power, it becomes 2 extra points of damage because the Doomhammer now hits for 3 rather than 2, and you get that Wind Fury, so you get 2 points of damage with it. So it's really strong there because it basically gives you the Hunter hero power when you have that on it, plus gaining you an armor. And when you don't have it and you get the Hunter hero power instead, it's just you get the Hunter hero power instead. So like, I don't know, it has a lot of versatility, the Sir Finley in that deck.
It's funny because I play Hunter a lot and I have not tried this deck out at all.
I think you would like it.
I mean, I think I would too. I got so sick of basically the last like 6 months or so, I've gotten so tired of aggro just because Hunter was so good. So there's no reason not to play it. And now that Hunter, like when Secret Pally was destroying the ladder, Face Hunter was just so good. And so I played a ton of Face Hunter. And then I just got really tired of that play style. And so this deck basically offers that same play style. And yeah, I just can't bring myself to play it. I'm sure it's great.
It's really good.
It looks good.
I would have loved to play it myself, but I don't own Doomhammers. Otherwise I'd probably be queuing it up a little bit.
Really? You don't own any Doomhammers?
No.
Never pulled them?
Yeah, never pulled them, nor have I ever really played a game with Shaman.
Oh, okay. I hear that.
I'm gonna
I
build a
hear that.
shaman deck right now, and I'm gonna let
that's
you know how
fair.
many wins I have. Let's.
Yeah, so I mean that's the shaman deck. I mean I'll put a link in the show notes. I guess to this version of it again. Like we kind of talked about earlier. There's a bunch of different ways to play a lot of these decks now.
Okay, can we play the guess how many wins I have with shaman game real quick?
13.
3. You're off by
Whoa.
10. Oh, 4.
Holy
Pretty
crap.
close. Yeah, I haven't built into shaman at all. I have like no cards from shaman.
Holy crap!
I think the 3 wins came during the original Death Rattle Crew challenge that we did, where I played it for 3, like maybe 10 games and won 3, and then I was like, all right, I'm done. But yeah,
I think
God.
I think the lowest I have is 6 with Rogue.
Okay.
So wait, all right. So what other decks are there right now that are new? Speaking of Rogue, you've got like the Death Rattle Rogue, which has the Unearthed Raptors. Like what other decks are we seeing in the meta now or meta right now?
So, I
that are
mean,
new?
Is that deck good?
Yeah.
No.
Did any of you guys play that this last week? I still haven't played it yet.
What
They
deck?
fixed it. It's no good anymore.
Okay.
It no longer times out one of your 10 players and just gives you an auto win.
I saw that video. It's so ridiculous.
That's fantastic that shit like this still exists.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, I've got a buddy that still plays the aggro druid, and he's been having a really good time with that.
The deck's still really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that deck also gets a lot better with the new cards coming out, but we'll talk about that, I'm sure, here soon.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it, or before the show, the rise of Mr. Reno, the resident badass.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you guys' thoughts? Is
The
he here to
Reno
stay? Is he here to stay?
Yeah, definitely. Like it sort of spawns this whole new, I guess, like idea of a deck is that one individual, like one unique card for each slot is very cool. And I'm pretty sure like this is a sort of, I guess, mechanic they'll probably build into in future is like this like condition where if you only have one card of everything, unique cards, 30 unique cards, then you get this amazing effect. And I think it's really fun. It's really because it feels like you're playing more than one deck. In that, like you have so much freedom with what, like the fact that people are playing Stalag and Fugan again is just hilarious. It's just great.
Yeah. Where have you guys been seeing that?
The Reno lock build is specifically. I've been playing it.
I've seen it in I think I've a priest deck too.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it in a priest build yet.
I saw it. Yeah, I know obviously the warlock deck, but I saw it.
The reason it took off in the warlock deck was Stanislav Sivka, who he's a somewhat notable pro in Hearthstone, but he's won like Magic Pro Tours before. He's a very, very talented turn-based strategy player, and he's actually a chess master as well. So he's really, really good at these kind of games.
Fucking hell!
But yeah, Stanislav Sivka, I believe, was the person who first decided, hey, let's put these in here. And kind of like was playing it on his stream, and then it just slowly caught on, and then blew.
Side note,
and everybody's got it now.
Side note about Stanisivka, he is my favorite player in the world.
Oh yeah,
2 reasons. Number 1, I have never seen him angry ever at all at anything. Like he has even yeah. So even when I forget when it was right when Reno came out, he basically got 5-0'd in a tournament against a freeze mage running Reno. And like at no point did he show any emotion at all. And it was so cool to see like someone like, because I aspire to that because I'm the most emotional Hearthstone player in the world. I'm just like yelling at my screen and I'm like, why do you hate me, God? But yeah, this guy is awesome. So if you haven't checked him out, like look him up. He's really cool. He also eats constantly on his stream. Like
always.
He probably eats a banana every 5 seconds. Like it's kind of incredible.
I don't think I've ever seen him not eating a fruit at any given moment. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
I feel like if you're like a pro tour winner and a chess master, then you've probably got pretty good emotional control and just like I guess rationalization in that connection between being able to rationalize and have that like mindfulness have a direct effect on your emotions. And that if he probably understands that if he does something and he's thought of like all reasonable outcomes and something bad happens, it's just like it's just a thing. It's not like anyone's fault.
Yeah,
And
but
I think,
it would be even worse coming from like chess where there is zero RNG and from Magic where there is, a little but not as much RNG to playing Hearthstone where I mean probably 33% of the game is based around RNG at least.
I don't personally play Magic, but just the whole like RNG Hearthstone versus RNG and Magic argument just seems kind of silly to me because it's like the fact that you have to rely on drawing lands just seems like so.
That's
RNG
the RNG element comparative.
Yeah,
that is almost the only RNG.
Here's the thing,
version
though.
of
in Magic though, like as you get further, as more cards are printed, the efficiency. Let's talk about like say for instance the Shaman deck, the ancestral knowledges of a Shaman in Magic. Everybody has kind of access to that in like eternal formats and formats where or in the game where like it smooths everything out. And so yeah, you're gonna lose maybe 3% of your games due to not hitting your lands, but that's a whole different subject and it's not a big issue in the game at all. So
yeah, drawing in Magic is so much easier. Like most of the draw spells that are in Hearthstone, in Magic those are completely unplayable. Like those are just bad cards. Whereas with one of the spells that you have, one of the more famous draw spells in Magic is basically 1 mana. Then you can play it like you can play a secret. So you can play it on your opponent's turn and you can draw 3 cards and then just put 2 random cards from your deck on top of your deck.
Yeah, it's kind of
and then
like
they're like, it's an instant tracking, except it also lets you get rid of bad cards in your hand, and then you can like shuffle your deck. And you can use like lands that you've already got to shuffle your deck and basically make bad cards go away. So it's way easier during the game of Magic to construct a playable hand. Whereas with Hearthstone, sometimes you don't draw any of your early game and there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. Whereas in Magic, that's not the case.
I feel like obviously Magic cards will be roughly 2 times more efficient at drawing than Hearthstone cards just because of sheer deck size. So I think once you consider the difference in size of decks, and I think it's reasonable to assume that drawing through a 60 card deck as opposed to cards that are built around drawing through a 30 card deck, they should be roughly not closer to 2 times better. And I'd say like from
it's not just that, it's not just that though. It's deck and hand manipulation, which are not a thing in Hearthstone.
And also
you can put cards, you can get rid of cards in your hand that you don't want, whereas you can't do that. You can basically trade cards in your hand that you don't want for cards in your deck that you want. There are also tutors, which is not a thing in Hearthstone. Basically, you can play a card for 1 mana that says go get any card in your deck and put it into your hand.
Speaking of Raven Idol, the new card, basically it's a tutor, because that's basically what Raven Idol does to the game of Hearthstone, in my opinion. So, which I think, if we're speaking of meta changes, I think that new card, Raven Idol, which by the way, it's a 1 mana spell that says choose one. It says discover a minion or discover a spell. So it's basically a 1 mana tutor. It tutors up a spell that you would want out of Druid, which basically gives you either swipe, mulch, naturalize, even wrath. It gives you all these different things, and I think that card's going to be a major impact on Druid decks moving forward, because it's the first
Force
real
of Nature Savage Roar.
Yeah, you exactly.
Can't find
Are
it.
you missing one half of it? Here's the other half. You always have Force of Nature Savage Roar on turn 9 now. Every time, not every time, but like your odds are so much greater now.
So
I think
more taunts incoming.
Maybe
I've been seeing a lot more warrior taunt decks. No, they're not
Oh yeah,
just
sure.
just not wrapped around it, but like you're playing. It's a control warrior basically that had several taunts in it. I was
hmm
oh, this is. It wasn't like a bolt. What is it? Bolster? Is that what that card is?
Yeah, I think Bolster's the one that gives him taunt.
I
There's also the creature sparring partner or something. I
yeah.
can't remember the name of it
He didn't
is.
play any. The one deck I remember specifically didn't play any of that, but um, yeah, sparring partner. There you go. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I was just like impressed. I'm like, oh wow. I felt like maybe it would have been good against like these shaman decks, but um, I don't know. Yeah. Freeze Mage. I've been seeing so much Freeze Mage on ladder right now too.
Yeah.
Like that deck's been around forever, but man, just everywhere.
I've seen like three
Really?
Mage games. Like it's not that. I don't know what you're at 14. So
I've been seeing a bunch of them.
I don't see him that much on ladder as much, but
Really?
every single tournament I've played in over the last 2 weeks. I've played in 3 tournaments this last 2 weeks, and every single person I've played against has played Freeze
I
Mage.
believe that.
Every
yeah.
single person.
well, I'd say it's an excellent tournament deck. I don't think it's a particularly
Fantastic
great ladder deck.
Yeah.
'Cause
The problem is it's great right now in tournament scene because everybody's got a ban. So it's like you pick 4. Well, not every day. Every tournament's going to have this, but the current format that Blizzard suggests, I guess, for BlizzCon related or BlizzCon point related tournaments is you get to pick 4 character or 4 or 4 different heroes. 1 gets banned, and then there's 3 left. And so that's great for things like Freeze Mage. Even Fatigue Warrior is really good for that because you can ban the thing that you don't want to play as Freeze Mage. You can always, if Freeze Mage is in your lineup, always ban Warrior. And so it's kind of good because then if you're playing Warrior as one of your 4 classes, you just know that your Warrior is going to get banned. You know your 3 other what you're going to be playing. So, which has been interesting because I actually played Fatigue Warrior last week in a tournament, and or actually yesterday. Sorry, yesterday I played it, and the only person who didn't ban my Fatigue Warrior list got Romple stomped, like just because I played Fatigue Warrior against all, and I banned the things that I didn't want Fatigue Warrior to lose against.
Right,
so,
right.
but yeah. What else have you guys been seeing? I've been seeing the Reno lock decks, not as much Freeze Mage. I've been seeing the Shaman list that you're talking about, the aggro Shaman. And I've been seeing a lot of that mid-range Paladin list.
Yeah, so much mid-range Paladin.
Yeah.
Is what you're talking about a mixture of like Secret Paladin?
No, okay, so there's 3 lists right now that I think are floating around. There's the traditional Secret Paladin list that is more aggressive, or the more mid-range build that runs kind of like, the aggressive one is like your Secret Keeper one, and the more mid-range one is, it's got like Sludge Belchers and Lothebs. There's a new look on Secret, I guess you'd say, with Keeper of Oldemon. It also has Seal of Champions. And the 4/4 +4/+4, and then also has Nerubian Egg as its other piece. So it uses the egg, and there's a million pumped effects because Keeper of Oldemon can make it into a 3/3.
Right.
So it gets a lot of value out of that. There's also like Coghammer. I played that deck a couple games last night, and just taunting up an O2 and giving a Divine Shield is fantastic for me because it's like, all right, kill it. Now I have a 4/4. So that list has been floating around. And then last but not least, there's also other Paladin lists, but the 3 major players, in my opinion, are that kind of like the traditional Secret Paladin list, the kind of like eggs, Nerubian Egg kind of like mid-rangey build. And the last one is that just traditional mid-range Secret Enlist with the 2 Keeper of Oldemon, and just basically making it as hard as possible to kill them. If you just being say for instance, I played a game of mid-range Hunter, and I queued up against that deck, and I put down a Dr. Boom, I put down 2 Savannah Highmanes, and I got a 3rd Savannah Highmane off from a web spinner in that game, and they dealt with all of them. And the way they dealt with all of them is they just turned them into 1/5s or turned them into 3/3s, and just made them to the point where I couldn't apply enough pressure to win the game. So it's really good at just stalling you out. So those are kind of the different builds.
That third one, I haven't had a lot of problem with those, but I think that's just the decks I've been playing. But I mean, you're just talking like a basic, an old school not control paladin, but mid range paladin,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yep.
Okay.
They even have a lot of lists are even running like a one of lay on hands or like a cult master to give them a little bit more draw.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're just and they have
like those
Justicar True Heart to produce like multiple 1/1s in a given turn.
That
Just so
card,
much value from all their cards.
you bring that up, like that brings pain in my head. I hate that card, and it's not because it's bad; it's because it's good. When that card, like a warrior, when that card comes down, you're just like, so should I just concede now? Like you're looking at their health, and it's like, oh, it's a control warrior. They're at 20 health. They haven't played Alexstrasza yet. I've only seen one Shield Maiden. Oh man, what do I do?
What card are you talking about?
Justicar True Heart.
Okay.
The 6/3 that doubles your hero
Yeah.
power.
Makes your hero power better.
Yeah. It's a soft.
Yeah,
it's a sore spot for me.
That card's pretty good. I've been
really
having
good.
a lot of success with it.
Yeah.
I'm curious what happens if you cast a Justicar True Heart and you've got a better hero power now, and then you cast Sir Finley. Can you find your original hero power again?
I think so, yeah.
I'm asking the real questions here now.
I see why not, because it's like it's a hero power you don't have.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to see. Well, yeah. Unless like Finley scales, so like if you're picking from the better hero powers, you can pick one of the new better hero powers.
Oh, now that'd be cool.
I think that would be
I'm
really
say
cool.
no.
Okay.
Would it be cool?
Just
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if it would be cool for it to happen, Blizzard didn't add it in.
Oh, shots fired. Wow.
Yeah.
Jeremy, is there something you need to say?
Well, me and Ben Brode, we hate each other, so.
Oh, man. Any other decks of note? I mean, you're still seeing a little bit of everything else. I'm still seeing Oil Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The same.
Yeah, everything else is just seems like it's spattered in there a little bit.
I feel like we're making it sound like it's just the meta, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff to play.
It really is.
I played two. I'm at rank 15, and I played 2 mill decks today against 2 mill decks today. So
I like playing against them. They're fun every now and then. Back to back to back.
No, it's awful. It's really terrible, and people who play it should be banned from Hearthstone.
I love that deck.
Mill decks are fun. I don't think I've actually ever played one though. I gotta be honest.
I play Fatigue Warrior all the time, and
I've never wanted to risk my stars with a mill deck. They're important to me. I don't want to play a mill deck. I'm not at that stage where I just want to like have fun with her. So it's still serious business to get to legend.
Hey man, you can get to legend very easily with my Fatigue Warrior list. Just takes you 30 minutes a game.
That's right.
And then when you lose one game, you have to spend a whole hour just to get yourself back up to where you started.
Yeah, I was going to say if the win rate was like ridiculous at a half an hour, it'd probably be worth it because like the way I've currently been going. But as soon as you're like just got a regular win rate, then it's not worth it at all.
Yeah, it's close to it's regular win rate at this point. It's 50 to 60% depending on how good you're doing at the time. Yeah, I've got a solid list though going right now. Yeah. What about the new cards? I want to talk about some of these new cards and how that's going to shift the meta. Because here's the thing I want to be doing this starting tomorrow when the new cards come out. I want to make sure that I am ahead of the game because I think that's the way I'm getting the legend this month. Because it's just the way I think the way to get ahead right now is to play new cards or obscure decks based around new cards that otherwise haven't existed yet. So what do you guys think? What new card are you guys most excited about?
Golden Monkey.
The Golden Monkey.
Oh.
Got your eye on the prize.
Indeed.
Really?
Do you think
so?
I think
Camel would be good if Hunter had a good 1-drop.
Okay. So you're saying that they just don't have anything to facilitate Desert Camel?
Yeah, I mean, what's it going to get? Web Spinner? If it's going to get Web Spinner, it's going to die to everything that Hunter gets immediately dies to it just trades unfavorably with Zombie Chow.
True. Like Leper Gnome's probably its best option.
Even
it's
that's
interesting
not
to note
good
that
against.
if you get a Zombie Chow and you're behind, like say you're Face Hunter, and you're like, I'll just play my Desert Camel and kill their Zombie Chow to gain life. That is, I mean, that's not like, it's not great, but that is relevant, I suppose.
Yeah. If you're a hunter and you're about to die because of health, then like you're probably already not winning, I would imagine.
What about a Control Hunter list with Desert Camel?
Yes, please make it happen.
I might try it. I'm honestly, I'm most excited about Raven Idol because I think that's like, honestly, that's in my opinion, maybe the best card that's coming out of the whole set besides maybe like
Which
Reno.
one's Raven Idol?
Raven Idol's the tutor effect that we were talking about earlier. The 1 mana, choose one, discover a minion or discover a spell.
Gotcha.
And then, but the Hunter, the Desert Camel is one of the other cards that I was really excited about when the set was initially spoiled. So I think there's definitely a spot for Desert Camel.
It's weird because Desert Camel would fit good into a mid-range deck. It's not an aggressive card because it's a 2/4. But you want it to get your aggressive minions. You don't want it to get the mid-range 1-drop, which is Web Spinner.
Well, I mean, there is Injured Cavalier. I mean, that is a card that you could run with it. And even though, people have said Injured Cavalier is not playable, with Desert Camel, it is a lot more playable. Getting a 2/4s for 3 is definitely feasible.
Yeah. I don't know.
You have to pay a cost of putting an Injured Cavalier into your deck, though. So,
right.
Definitely a cost that you're paying.
Still feels. That just, I don't know. Maybe I've been wrong. I've been wrong a lot about this set, so I'm trying not to make too many predictions. Like this set has just been crazy good, and I thought it was going to be bad.
I did too. I'm going to be honest. I felt the same.
All right, so another card that's coming out this week that I'm really excited about is Cursed Blade. What do you guys think about that one? That's the 1 mana 2/3 weapon that says double all damage dealt to your hero.
We've talked about this. Are we going to see
Face Warrior?
I was about to say, are we going to see a really, really, really aggressive warrior here? Because I don't like this card unless that's the only deck I feel like it fits in. That's it.
Nah, it makes Blingtron slightly more interesting.
Ooh,
it does make Blingtron more interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
So Blingtron's gotten a lot better with the last 2 sets even.
Yeah. So do you not Harrison Jones this? Do you just leave it up?
Yeah, you just leave it up.
Yeah. Cards of damage. Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I didn't even think about Blingtron with it either. I like Blingtron a lot too. I thought it got a lot better with Poison Blade because you can just like make the Poison Blade better as time goes on because you don't have to actually equip it. Mm-hmm. You just get it. So I don't know. Cursed Blade's interesting there. It does make it potentially worse on your side, but since you're the one that swings first when they get the Cursed Blade, it's kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. I think actually yesterday I queued up against a warrior list that was in top of Legend. I think he was like 80th on the ladder or something like that, and he was playing Mech Warrior actually with Screwjank Clunker. And now, if you don't know what these cards are, don't worry because you probably have never seen them before. But he's playing with Screwjank Clunker, Clockwork Gnome, I think is what it's called. No, not Clockwork Gnome, Clockwork Knight, sorry, which is the 5 mana 5/5 battle cry one. And then he also had Bronzebeard in his build. So he was able to utilize the like battle cry effects from those creatures. Like Screwjank gives +2/+2 to mech when it enters the battlefield. And so he was able to like potentially set up a Bronzebeard plus Screwjank to make huge threats and then use a lot of like burst out of it. And it seemed really solid. I ended up winning because I was on a mech build as well, and it seems like his mech versus mech matchup's worse because I was playing mech mage at the time, and so that feels like not a great matchup for him. But nobody's playing mech mage right now, and I think the warrior build gives him a lot more play against the shaman aggro decks as well. But it gives and not only that, but like the real advantage of playing mechs right now is they're solid against the mid range paladin lists They have game against the Reno decks because they can still apply good pressure while not having to waste, like not putting out like 2/1s that immediately die to like a Wind Fury or something, or Whirlwind Effect. I'm sorry. And so they're just more resilient threats that put bigger bodies on the board, but they're not necessarily always the best aggressive deck. And so it really just switches to this plan of, against like Shaman, they're playing a control role where they're gaining a bunch of armor and saying, okay, go ahead, put your Doomhammer Rockbiter plan into place. You're going to run out of resources, and I'm going to armor myself up to where you can't kill me while I'm still applying pressure at the same time. So I don't know. I really think that deck might be a spot for Curse Blade moving forward, as it gives that deck the ability to develop a board and play Curse Blade on the exact same turn, so it can clear its opponent's board and develop its board all in one fail swoop. While at the same time, after it's developed its board and it's developed its Curse Blade, it can then start armoring up because it now has excess mana available to itself because its curve is going to be a lot lower. So I think that might be the spot for it moving forward, but I'm not 100% sure. It's definitely where I'm going to start is like a mech warrior build and see how well that works.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited about that card though.
I'm excited to see what happens too. I
I'm
don't
just
know.
taking me into Legend Bradley.
Yeah,
Mech Warrior. I got trashed by Mech Warrior the other day. It was just like face. But it's few and far between, my friend. Few and far between.
They really are. And Sir Finley makes that deck better too. Because there's going to be games where you're like, screw my hero power. I need anything else. You know, like I don't care about gaining life. I want to kill my opponent. So I don't know. I really think that deck got a lot better with this set coming out, or with this upcoming release this week. And, you know, obviously
about 1 out of every 100 games, I still run into Mech Rogue. And I think, what's this freaking, the 2/2 that gives a mech +2/+2 at the end of turn or whatever? That card is so freaking annoying.
When it works.
Iron Sensei, so God, that card's so freaking stupid. When people play that and a Noyatron in the same turn, and you're just like, I hate you. I hate you so much. I hate your family. I hate your friends. I hate your mother. I don't like anything about you. Your car's stupid.
Your car's stupid.
All this. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I don't like it at all.
Do we need more? Yeah, I feel like Rogue, that could be a thing if we get more options for Rogue. I mean, what do you think?
What we need to do is we need to make all the mechs in Rogue also pirates. So it'd be Pirate Mech Rogue. That would be a deck.
It'd be fair, right?
Yeah, that would be a for real deck. That would just destroy everything.
Robot pirates.
Sounds like robot pirates. Why not?
I buy it. I see.
When are they going to introduce aliens into Hearthstone?
Like the Draenei.
Aliens.
Draenei. Yeah, Draenei, but like they need to make Alien an actual. So what are the Draenei in Hearthstone? There's Defender of Argus. That's a Draenei, right?
Yeah.
So he's an alien. I don't know. They need to have an alien subclass.
Prophet Velen is an Eridar.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
There's probably more.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. We just need to give them subtype alien. And then we need an alien war leader that gives all aliens +10/+10. It's a 2/2 for 2.
Oh, yeah.
You heard it here first. DRC confirmed. Aliens coming to Hearthstone.
Right. Let's do it.
Wonderful.
I am glad that they've moved more, because if you look at like the first few expansions, they were all about like, hey, this is the mech expansion. This is the dragon expansion. And now they've kind of moved away from that and said, you know, well, this is like, these are what the cards do. It doesn't, you know,
what do you think?
There are subtypes, but this expansion is just the make cards that used to be bad pretty good expansion. It's like, hey, Murlocs is a thing now, but it's not the way you wanted it to be.
Sure, it's a different build.
I like the Murloc.
Right.
Of your.
Like if you just rewind like a month and then tell me, hey, by the way, Murlocs is going to be a thing in Pally, but it's going to be a control build and it's not going to use Murloc Knight at all because that makes the deck worse.
Right.
What? I'm sorry. How?
Oh, that card. That's a good card too. Murloc Knight. Yeah,
Yeah, it
I've been
is.
seeing that
This-
quite a bit recently.
yeah. That's
Well, obviously,
Murloc Knight?
anything can happen.
Yeah, I got pissed off the other day because I was playing the Anyfin deck, and I was playing against a mid-range pally, and he put out 2 Murloc Knights. And so I was still able to go off on turn 10, but I didn't win that turn because like he had pumped out a bunch of shitty Murlocs. And so like I've got, hey, summon 7 Murlocs, and like 3 of them are Colite Oracles or whatever
yeah.
Murloc Knight had put out. And I'm just like, wow, this is really terrible.
You didn't have one of those games where it was a Murloc Knight that pulled out a Murloc Knight, and then the next turn pulled out another Murloc Knight when he played his other Murloc.
Well,
Knight.
I did. The reason I still won the game, but it was super annoying because the combo is to go face that turn and win. But instead I summoned like a Murloc Knight and 2 like really crappy Murlocs. So I was still able to win, like, but it took 4 additional turns because Anyfin, instead of being a kill combo, was just a value combo. So that sucked.
All right, I got
Rip
one more card to
indeed.
talk about.
Go
Eerie
ahead.
No,
Statue.
sorry.
New card, Eerie
yes,
Statue.
yes.
Tell me where that's going to fit in. I want to know. I think this card's going to be real good.
It's the Reno Warlock additional giant.
Yeah, that or Handlock.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about this last week or the week before. I think. I mean, it's going to have to replace something in like your traditional Handlock deck, but like I'm thinking like the build that I'm playing plays, or it did play 2 Molten Giants, and I took one out and put a Taunt minion in, but I might take that Taunt minion out and put one of these in now.
Sure.
And Handlock, I think we talked about it replacing possibly a ancient Watchers, ancient
Watcher, I believe.
is Ancient Watcher
Ancient Statue, whatever it's called. The 4/5 for 2.
Yes, that one. Yeah.
Hold on, let me look it up real quick. It is Ancient Watcher. That's
Okay.
the name of it.
Yeah. What's the 4/4 that grows when you take damage? That's 8.
The 4/4?
There's a 4/4 Warlock card.
Oh, Floating Watcher.
Floating. There it is. Okay. Yeah.
That's the one you're thinking of.
wanting
Okay,
to think
gotcha.
of those. Yeah.
I think I'm like this. Like I'm more excited about this wing than any other wing of the entire set so
Right.
far. I think there's like, it's not just like the last wing felt like, oh yeah, we got Anyfin, and now Paladin has some more stuff, and then like the wing before that was like, oh yeah, we got some, I don't know, Tunnel Trog, and Warlock got Dark Peddler, yay, they got some stuff. But like I feel like this set we've got. I think a really solid Druid card in Raven Idol, a really solid Hunter card in Desert Camel, a really, really, really solid card in what's that called? Eerie Watcher or Eerie Statue that anybody can play, and then also Warrior got Cursed Blade as well. So I just feel like this set or this 4th wing is just going to give so many possibilities moving forward, and I really hope that those 4 cards, in addition to maybe even some others coming out of this set, this week's part of the set, is just gonna create a really diverse and awesome meta moving forward.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm so excited for it this week.
Yes.
I'm gonna try Eerie Statue in a deck that I was hoping was gonna be a deck at the start of the grand tournament. I messed around with it a little bit. It was okay. It wasn't as good as I had initially intended, but I'll kind of like quickly discuss what I would think this deck would have in it. But it's kind of like a control warrior list that's a taunt warrior instead. So it would have that, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, the sparring partner.
Mhm.
It might have bolster, give your taunt minions +2/+2. And it would have like your typical taunt things. It would have the Sun Fury Protectors and Defender of Argus. And then it would maybe have another 8/8 big thing like a Molten Giant or something. And the Eerie Statue just basically is your wall as well as your Molten Giant. So it operates very similar in the early game to how Handlock would have previously operated, which is put out a big turn 4 play and only use your early turns. You maybe like equip a fiery war axe and kill some things, and then armor up a little bit. Maybe dig through your deck with a little bit with like a slam, or just cards that cycle give you new cards. So your hand isn't empty. And then from there, once you kind of stalled the game enough and you play out your Eerie Statues or whatever your other card is, you then start taunting them up, and you just create these giant walls to buy you as much time as possible, and then eventually gain value off of maybe like a Gore Howl or some top end finisher like a Ysera. That's great. You'd love to hop out and taunt up, or a Kel'Thuzad, which Kel'Thuzad's really good with taunt creatures. And you just being able to cycle your creatures into your opponents and get them back with Kel'Thuzad is going to be really good there too. And so that's the list that I'm really excited about for Eerie Statue that might be viable. And it's certainly the place I'm going to start with it. But I'm not sure if it's going to be good enough is the thing. But I'm excited to test that out and see how well the Eerie Statue fits into that build. So yeah. I don't know. I think that card has a lot of potential.
I do too. I was really looking forward to that card.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other ones of note?
I mean, there are definitely some other cards coming out. Like there's the Golden Monkey, whatever her name is.
Yeah,
the legendary.
That's a good one. We've talked about that. Do we think it's going to be viable at all? I feel like it's a lot. People
are going to play it next week.
They'll play it.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like a fun thing. It's going to last for a little bit, but it's not. It's just not viable. It just like feels like it's not viable. I mean, place your hand and deck with legendary minions. I mean, just unless maybe you could probably build something around it where it's focused on cycling, and then when you get to that point where you can actually play the Golden Monkey, then it'd probably be okay. Like because you swap out your remaining cycle cards for legendary minions and shit.
So that's what I was thinking. Is like kind of like a burn deck or something like that, but not really, because there's cards, if the goal is to deck out your opponent, you probably need those cards. But so I don't know. I'm trying to think through that.
I feel like maybe it's like a warrior list that it fits into.
Okay.
Because warrior's got a lot of ways to cycle through its deck.
Yeah.
And has a lot of answers in the early game so that it can maybe get to an Elise. So like kind of how like Grim Patron was able to cycle so quickly through its deck. Doing something like that with Battle Rages, like Armor Smiths, Acolyte of Pains, and your typical like cycling plan for a warrior deck, and then just see if you can get to Elise, and then eventually get to the map to the Golden Monkey, and then get to the Golden Monkey after that. Like, it's a lot of hoops to jump through just to get to set up Elise.
It is,
and then once you set it up, it's even more jumps or hoops to jump through.
Yeah. I mean, it is a 4-drop. What do you think?
Sure.
This or Pilot of Shredder? Who still wins?
Pilot of Shredder.
Does
not pass Pilot of Shredder.
Pilot of Shredder is the card that just keeps giving.
Yeah.
It is worth noting it's a 3/5, so it can beat a Piloted Shredder.
Right.
It is not necessarily like strictly worse because it has that 5 defense. But Piloted Shredder is just... I mean, Pilot Shredder's immediate value. At least you have to then find the next piece. And then after you find that piece, it's like, now find this piece. And it's just so many hoops to jump through.
I don't know.
But yeah.
I thought Reno was going to be kind of gimmicky, and it's not. I mean, my initial reaction is this is real gimmicky. Like even at BlizzCon when this card came out and like, oh, every card in your deck becomes a legendary, like the crowd went nuts, like, oh, that's so overpowered. Like, no, not really. Like, is it overpowered? Yes, but you have all these steps to get to it. No, it might actually be pretty bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the restriction on Reno is a lot easier to
to
make happen. And the restriction on Reno is just going to get easier and easier as the game develops. More cards get printed, Reno gets better.
Mm-hmm.
It's the more cards that we get that are good, the better Reno gets, because now you can build better. You can put better cards into your deck.
You only have to put
mediocre
one
cards.
Piloted Shredder in because there's another 4-drop that's just as good.
Yeah, exactly. Right? If they ever print something that's the Piloted Shredder 2.0,
Right.
You can put piloted Shredder, one Twilight Drake, and one of like the new piloted Shredder card in, and just you got your 4-drops covered now, and it makes Reno consistent as a deck. So yeah.
Are we going to see something like the wobbling runts in a druid deck? I'm trying to figure out where this is going. My only thought is, all right, you play this turn 6.
Ramp Druid? Sure.
Yeah, you kill it. Okay, now I've got 3 3/3s. Then I play 3 more 3 2/2s. Then I play 3 more 2/2s, and then give them all Force of Nature. Or
Mike, you
Saboteur,
might be a genius. I've been trying to figure out how to fit this into a deck. I think that card's really powerful.
Is that a strong 6-drop, or would you rather play Thorson?
I think you'd rather play
7?
Thorson as your turn 6, and then maybe wobbling runts at a different time. But I like wobbling runts' ability to druids, like the ramp druids and like the combo druids sometimes struggle against like just trying to gain board control in certain matchups. So like wobbling runts makes it really hard for your opponent to clear it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 12 defense that they have to get through before they get rid of it. Now, granted, being only 2 power, its immediate impact is low, but its long-term impact is great.
Yeah, that's what, like if you're an aggro deck or something, you can ignore it, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But like you were saying, it takes a lot to just completely destroy it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that card. I haven't thought of a place for it to fit, but you might be right. Like being able to coin innervate that on turn 3. I mean, it doesn't look really scary, but unless if you got an Iron Beak Owl or a Silence Effect right now, that thing's gonna probably take over the board.
Oh, that would be gross.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it does make you just have a 2/6 at that point if it gets silenced. So it is.
Ugh.
It certainly has downside there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, anything you silence is bad, I guess, for the most part. But
sure. I honestly, wobbling runs
except for an Ancient Watcher,
incredibly powerful.
Yeah, touche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which or now Eerie statue as well. Don't silence the other people's Eerie statues, because that's what I'm going to be silencing my own Eerie statues quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Can't wait to do that.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on the cards coming out? I guess tomorrow. Tomorrow? Yeah, Thursday.
Yeah, tomorrow.
I'm keen to see the meta just stabilize. Hopefully the week after.
Yeah.
As we take the final turn into the end of League of Explorers and hit the 2016 season headstrong.
The League of Explorers, the Hearthstone Adventure. You got that song right in my head.
Hearthstone Adventure.
It's the completely wrong song, but it works. It completely works.
Dude, everything works. Just Hearthstone Adventure.
So I wonder what the next step for Hearthstone is. Like, are they just going to do another expansion?
Yeah, it'll be another.
And how long does that take?
Another full card.
I mean, it'll be another 4 months, 3 months.
Yeah, something like
before
that.
They announce it.
Yeah, when was how long ago was it between this and TGT? 3 months? It was a faster cycle, wasn't it?
It was definitely the fastest they've ever.
I want to say it was 3 months.
3 months or 4 months, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good. If they're on a release schedule that's 3 to 4 months, the game will keep people coming back and forth. And I will want to keep playing this game if every 3 to 4 months I'm getting some new content.
It will keep people who've been playing the game here. It will drive away possible new players.
Sure. I mean, that is true.
So, sure, yes. They're going to have to figure out a way to promote new, like we were talking about last week. They're going to have to find a way to promote new players coming in.
Yeah, I think you're just going to have to start doing maybe like bundles or something for new players where you come into the game, you pay a certain amount of money, you get a starter set of something on top, so you get the basic set, and then on top of it you get say 5 packs from a couple of expansion, a couple of sets, that sort of thing. They'll figure it out. They have people working on it.
Like kind of we talked about last week. Make some of the adventure modes half price. Or,
exactly.
If after you've got 2 out right now, so make anyone's more than 2 older, make those half price or something like that. I don't think you can do that with the full releases, like the full big releases, because the thing like the dust economy would be a little because then everyone would just buy the
exactly.
cheap ones and then dust it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we did talk about that. I think, but adventures, I think are fine, and that's usually the crux. The things that's the paywall is not so much like the booster packs because people eventually craft what they want, but
You're right.
the paywall for the wings is pretty big for like things like Max Ramus. If you're a new player, it's just like, well, fuck me, what do? I have to spend like $75 buying all these expansions.
Which, I mean, we've talked about that too. The adventures have like the best cards, and even though they're the smallest,
Exactly.
releases. Yeah. I hope that something like that. I really feel like, you know, Blizzard, that was a free idea. Half price next. No joke. DRC not confirmed. Yeah, I don't know.
Hopefully. I think that's a good way to go about it, though, as we talked about
we do
before.
need more new blood. I mean, like, how many players are there now? Like, more, over 20, obviously, million. But I don't know. I want to keep people interested and here and wanting to come in and play more. Like a buddy at work was asking me, hey, what decks do I play? I just started playing this week. And it's like, and he's like, I don't want to spend any money. I've spent like $6. And it's like, well, you either need to play a lot, either start streaming every day or drop some cash. I mean, it was really hard because like we talked about this again last week. It was kind of like, oh, here's a deck that's 2 years old. It'll be fine up to a certain point. You'll get your card back with this deck. I'll say that you're not going to Legend, but you'll get your card back.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I also think, like this podcast is more, I think is more geared towards someone who wants to take the game to another level. You know what I mean? Like we're not
necessarily catering to the new player.
Right. So I have to take those glasses off, I guess, when somebody asks me questions like that. It's like, oh yeah, well you need this and this and this, and it's like, oh yeah, so basically go drop $80 and you can build this deck, or something close to it, depending on how lucky you get with the card pack draws. But I don't know. I mean, that's a good question, Jeremy. It's there's a lot, and power creep, and I have an article saved on my computer. Ben Brode was interviewed sometime recently, and I just keep forgetting to read it. And he was talking about power creep, so maybe that was brought up in that. If I find it, I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah, I can't find it. I don't know.
Do you think they'd ever price like a full set, like if you could just purchase the set as a whole?
That would be fantastic. Would it be fantastic?
Yeah. I think it's feasible. I don't think they'll do it.
Just because of dust.
I don't think they would do it. It would be a really expensive.
It would
set.
have to.
Like
it would have
if you take into consideration how much every card from an entire set actually cost. Yeah. I mean, you're talking what, like $160? Maybe if you want every single card.
Might even be more than that. What's the current dusting rate? Dusting rate's probably like 200 for a set or something like that.
It's the current dusting rate. You can get on average about maybe 80 dust from a pack, and that's $1. So basically, you could round it up and say 100 dust is $1.
So each legendary is about $16.
Yeah, close to it.
Okay.
Basically. If you spend $16, you should get a legend or enough dust to craft a legend.
Right.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I would say.
So if we make that assumption that, like, let's say like the green, or like, let's say, I don't know, Goblins and Gnomes. Goblins and Gnomes is a relatively big set. So if we assume there's, I don't know how many legends, there's one for each class of 9, plus probably like 4 or 5 in maybe more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm counting 9 in neutral. So 9 times, there's 18. So 18 times 16 is just for the legends.
Wow.
So that's just the legends. If you include all the rest of it, and they're each like, I mean, it starts adding up. Yeah. I don't want to do the math right now because I don't know how, like, this is all snowballing, but like, I would say it's going to be pretty expensive to craft an entire set or to buy an entire set. Although I'm sure there are people that would do it. I would, in fact, if you wanted to, if somebody gave me the option of, hey, here, buy this card or buy 16 packs and maybe get the card you want, and potentially be able to dust all the stuff and get what you want afterwards, I'd just buy the card because I know I'm going to get it and I'm just guaranteed. I'm not the kind of person who's going to spend money on packs generally. I'm just going to say, I need this. I'll pay for this. Give me that and let's move on.
My only issue with that is you're going to have people, no one would ever own a Flame Leviathan. And it would be a sad, sad world.
We would never see Flame Leviathan.
Magma Rager.
As a matter of fact, when you crack, so if you go in and buy a Flame Leviathan, Blizzard would pay you $32.
Just to get it.
It's like, oh, you paid 16. Here's your 16 back, and we'll just give you another 20. Just thank you for buying that card.
Thank you for playing with Flame Leviathan.
Oh man, rip that card. One day that card will be something.
What I want to do is I want to Flame Leviathan with Gang Up. That's how you make it good. But sadly, it's a rogue card, not a mage card,
right?
Or a mage card and not a rogue card. They just don't fit together. But it'd be sweet to every single turn start going, all right, take 2, clear the board. Take 2, clear the board.
Oh man. One deck that we didn't talk about yet is the Hobo Zoo. We completely missed that deck.
I mean, we mentioned it a little bit. I mentioned like last week how the card that I was most excited about out of the previous set was Murloc Tiny Fin.
Yeah.
And that card made the Hobo Zoo deck fantastic. It made it not like the best deck in the world, but it gave it a lot of consistency, and it really made it a lot better for what it is. And I actually it made Gormok the Impaler a lot better. It made Sea Giant, a lot of the things that you already want in a Hobo or Hobgoblin Zoo build. And I actually, day one, the second that it dropped, I immediately played with Murloc Tiny Fin. I was just like, all right, let's put this in this Hobo Goblin like zoo build, and it worked great. It was fantastic. I went from like rank 16 to rank 5, I believe, with the deck, and then people started catching on, and I kind of gave up on the deck because I was getting a little bored of it as well, and yeah, and I just kind of like I was just steamrolling people because I didn't know what it was going on until it was already too late. It was great.
That's funny. Who would have thought a Wisp would make it into a competitive deck?
Two different Wisps.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I knew that deck was going to be. I didn't think it was going to be like the best deck, and it's not. But I knew that deck was going to be a lot more consistent. It was going to have because free spells are free, and if you can abuse the free cards, and get value out of them, they're great. And I started with Knife Jugglers, so that like even even at the very worst, and like my juggles like off of a Haunted Creeper or something didn't work really well, I could be like, all right, let's throw this Wisp out and see if we can get the 50 chance again, and it worked quite well. And then like sometimes there'd be like, oh, I've got this empty board, and be like, all right, Implosion. Dang, I only got 2. Like, oh, I know what I could do. I could put down these 2 Wisps, and then I can Gormok for 4 damage, and or like, oh man, my Sea Giant costs 4. Well, I'll tap. Oh hey, a Wisp. Awesome. I can play this Wisp. I can play this. I can play this. Now I can play my Sea Giant as well. And it really gave that deck a lot of consistency and helped its power level go up a lot.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And I've heard people talk about like basically what you're saying is use it as a spell to cheapen some minions or to get an effect out of a minion. It just maybe it took getting more than 2 to make this really happen. I don't know. I like it. I like the idea behind it. That's fun. I still don't know how I feel about the Seeker though. How's that done for you? Is it kind of if you get the Hobgoblin buff, it's fine. If you get it's full buff, it's obviously fantastic. I mean, what'd you think of it?
Sucks as a 1-drop, but
right.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's very much a a win more card sometimes. It's like can be the difference because it's
Yeah.
just like another. If you get the Hobgoblin and the effect off, then you pretty much won the game. I think it just like sort of seals it at a certain point. And it's the kind of card where it's fine if it just only gets
So
the
it's 7
Hobgoblin buff.
So 7/7 for 1. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is a
Okay.
win more card.
Yeah,
I agree
if
with
you-
you 100%, Mushu.
If you get to the point where you have six things on board and you can have mana to play another one, then you're probably like pretty far ahead anyway.
Mm.
It's a
Yeah.
it's a deck that sucks with if there's any sort of early resistance. So if like you can deal with things like Minibot and stuff, but like things like Wimrest Agent and like anything that has a taunt, like a Noyatron, is pretty fucking painful. It's just if you have a pretty okay start, it's fine.
That's another card. When it came out, people were like, Noyotron, a 1/2. What the heck is this? Like basically a little bit upgraded Goldshire Footman, and now we're at the day where it's like, oh my god, this really is the most annoying card to have to deal with.
I actually cut Reliquary Seeker from the Hobgoblin list.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. And I picked up one of a Noyatron, in fact. I think it's just too much of a win more card, and I'd rather have things that are more resilient, like a Noyatron or like an Argent Squire or something.
Mm.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm gonna try that. I think maybe not Argent Squire, but definitely a Noyatron.
Yeah, Noyatron was fine. I was running it as a one of just because the deck sometimes when it falls behind, it needs to be able to repopulate the board and then stall for a little while, and that's what the Noyatron did for you.
Well, I think if you fall
yeah,
behind,
so-
you might as well just concede.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's hard for that deck to catch up. You've got like Implosion that helps you catch up, and
Yeah.
there's not too many other cards that are really going to help you. I mean, Sea Giant, if they're the same type of deck where they're going wide and putting a bunch of stuff on the battlefield, or like a good Hobgoblin turn can catch you back up. But yeah, there's definitely some downside to it. Or maybe a lot of the lists that I've been seeing haven't been running Knife Juggler, but I've been a big fan of it in the deck because of the potential combo with Wisp as well, which it just makes your Wisp and Murloc Tiny Fins more consistent. Although the list that made rank 1 legend with Hobgoblin was only running 3 Wisp / Murloc Tiny Fin effects.
Yeah.
It wasn't running the full 4.
Mm.
So it was
that's-
less on the package of going all in on them. So
But that was when it was like relatively new, though.
sure.
Like there's a lot to be said about a deck that is like the defiant, like a new meta sort of deck that no one has any idea against, like what to do against.
Mm-hmm.
And like for example, I think the biggest example is something like Hybrid Hunter, where it was just amazing until people figured out what it was, and it's like, well, in that case,
Yeah.
we'll play around it, and it's the same thing. But if you're not running into Priest, it's fine. And even if against Paladin, it's sort of like the same thinking as the Burst Shaman is that, if they have Consecrate, they have Consecrate. Otherwise, you just keep playing.
Mm.
That's all I got.
All right.
Yeah. Hobgoblin Zoo. Check it out. It's a fun deck. I really suggest it to people.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a copy of it in the show notes. So just head over
Okay.
to www.ditchredacrew.com and you can see it there. www. So I mean, talked about some decks. Cards coming out tomorrow. By the time you get this podcast, those should be out.
Mhm.
Anything else? Any other thoughts?
Just like to point out that without Jeremy casting his video, we've been successfully able to stream a whole episode.
Yeah. That's a
Without
this is
Jeremy,
Is that-
what?
Without your video.
I think he's saying
Oh,
you cursed
well,
our stream.
I allowed myself to. I selected myself. I volunteered to do audio only because for some reason Mike can't stream 4 people.
Shots
So-
fired.
Oh, so it's
Yeah,
my
I
fault
don't know.
now. I'm fault. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
As long as it's not my fault.
Well, maybe a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I have one more thing to talk about.
Go ahead.
Whatever happened with the challenge? We forgot about it for this month.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's end with that.
Yeah, the challenge.
Too busy playing Granny Legend.
That's right.
Yes, I'm on board with that. Yep, that's what I've been doing.
We talked about doing an arena, or
Okay.
a series of arenas. What do we think? And we can get Chad in on this too. So for those of you who don't know, we did a challenge like a month ago.
Yeah, it's been about a month now.
Last one or highest rank had to sing a Kesha song based on a couple things, like I have to put what was it Fall Reavers in the deck, a card with a horse in the deck, can't have more than 100 rank wins with a class, and something else. So we decided
You have to hate yourself.
Yeah,
that was
you
the
have to
fourth
hate
one.
yourself.
You have to hate yourself.
So it because it was a month long, it was just hard to do for everyone. So we figured, hey, let's do something simpler, maybe an arena or a series of 3 arena runs. But because it being so random, that's what I'm trying to brainstorm. What do we do? Do we say, all right, pick an arena and you can only pick the cards on the left? I mean, I don't know.
Since Mushu was the biggest critic of the last challenge, I say we let him decide all of the rules.
Oh,
wow.
Well, I would just go like,
that's a lot of power.
all I would say is just, no mages, and then three unique classes that aren't mages. Like, or maybe you can even play with mages, but you have to play a unique class each time. Like, and you'll average over 3 runs or so.
All right.
Okay.
And what are the tiebreakers? Because with it being the average, we're probably going to have a couple of ties. Are we going with the person who loses gets the bad effect again? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Are we doing the bottom 2?
Well, yeah, and we talked about doing a duet.
Oh yeah, the bottom 2 have to
pick the
duet
bottom
together.
2?
Let's do it.
So that way,
right.
yeah.
He said, "Let's do it."
Let's do. Oh, I get. Oh, man, well played, Brad. Duet.
Brad's jokes are much better after half a bottle of whiskey.
They're still not better then. They don't get better ever.
No.
So, Matt, say that again. 3 runs.
Mm-hmm.
All unique classes.
All unique. So, okay, so we can't play mage.
Okay.
There's got to be something else. What else?
What about?
No, I mean, make it. Let's do it easy. Let's.
Oh, come on,
dude!
There's gotta be one
I'm
other
bad
thing
at
in there.
arena.
Like, I think otherwise you just throw too much RNG into it.
What about you have to pick a card with that has like the color purple or something in it? I don't know if that's like easy. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I'm trying to think of something weird.
Let's do
or
that.
something,
Okay,
you know?
let's say.
Like, and the only reason I bring that up is because somebody suggested I did a Roy G. Biv draft once, which is like you have to pick a card that has red in it first, then you have to pick a card that has orange in it. You know, like those kind of things. But that ends up being like too complex if you do that. But at the same time, like I don't know, like picking a color or picking like I don't know, something along those lines.
The only problem is like you could tangibly not get a draw, like a selection, and then that's
hey,
like
there we go.
Just invalidated because
Vandio from the chat says no third party overlays or tier lists. I like that.
Definitely.
Okay, that's definitely a good rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no arenamaster.com or whatever that is.
Okay.
That you fancy PC people use.
Can I use my Hearthstone deck tracker to note just the deck that I've already created? Not like anything, just like once I've already created the deck, it would just go up there.
I think this is just to eliminate the
deck
what you call it
portion.
the deck construction portion.
Okay.
So if I do like so the only shit thing there is that you can do a bunch of reading beforehand, be like, okay, this is like my I guess.
I mean, if you want to do that, then go for it. Like if it's that big of a deal to you, okay, cool, you win, man. I'll sing Kesha again. I'll do it. I don't care.
A Kesha duet. I like that.
Right. Somebody else could be Pitbull. I'm all in. It's going down. I'm yelling, Tim. Part 2.
Part 2. Kesha part 2.
There's got to be another Kesha hit, right? I don't know.
Right. I do like the
there was a
idea
catch a hit.
of building an arena where you have to fill every number, like other than maybe 0 or like, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like you have to have.
I feel like that's just deck construction 101, though. Like
that's true too.
You already have that.
I wish I had this big box of like. Okay, so at one point on my stream, we were doing random draft Wednesdays, basically, or wacky draft Wednesdays, I think is what we were calling it. Anyway, but I had a container that had a bunch of like people made suggestions of like weird stipulations and stuff for drafts, but I've since gotten rid of it because we stopped doing that. So I wish I still had those sheets of paper to like look back through and give you guys a bunch of suggestions, because we had like 60 different ones at one point, but I threw them away because I wasn't doing it anymore. Oh well, too late now.
Yeah, it's the randomness of arena that makes it hard to kind of add little stipulations.
Yeah, we're already dealing with the RNG of arena.
Yeah.
I feel like if you keep adding stipulations, like it's just going to be so heavy RNG that like whoever rolled the favorite, whoever better class.
How could we say no more than one of a card? Is that too much?
I think that's too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's too much because then you're going to wind up with like everyone gets 2 wins.
Yeah, I think
challenge
you're getting towards the point where it's not going to be fun. It's like
that's my goal. Why did you think I put Fell Reaver in the first run?
Well, it's just like
no, I know what you mean.
We learned from the first one that hamstringing it too much.
I thought it was fun. I don't know.
That's why, like, and that's like why I'm salty about the no. You bring up the no overlay thing because that was something I wanted to try. Was the overlay was to see how like good it does.
Mm-hmm.
But no, fuckboy over here. It's just like no. Can you just not accept that this algorithm can think better than us?
Never.
It just knows.
Never.
What so are we gonna do 3 runs? Is that the plan, or is 3 enough? Or is
we can do so like the way you want to do it. If you want to do more than 3, is start having drop runs where you get like, so say if you play 4 runs, then you get to drop your worst. So, if you play 6, then you drop your best and drop your worst. That's a good stipulation. But I think 6 is probably too many.
How about 5 and we drop our worst too?
I don't think I'm tangibly going to play 5 arena runs in this next week.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Oh no, I was thinking
that is a fuck ton.
I was thinking like over the month. Like you've got
so by the end of the month, we need to have played 4, drop 1.
Yeah.
I like that.
Play 4 arena runs and then
4
drop
arena
your
runs.
worst.
Drop the worst one. Yep.
Right.
Okay.
I like it.
Cool. It's on. Bring it.
All right. And then the now we need to throw it out to the audience again. We did Kesha last time. The worst 2. What are tiebreakers? Are we just going to tiebreakers have to have a constructed playoff match versus each other?
Sure.
Or no. I got it. Since it's arena, the tiebreaker is a randomized deck. Or do we want to do Tavern Brawl?
Oh God, no! I don't want to do either of those things.
Well,
it's got to be random since it's going to be a tiebreaker. Because
I reckon just random deck it.
Yeah, random deck it. So both players pick one class. So both players pick Pally or whatever.
So
autofill. Pick Dr. Boom and autofill.
Are we just going to go by win, or could we go? All right, number of wins over 3 games or 3 arena runs determines the winner. And then if there's a tie there, say, all right, how many losses did you? No, because it's always the same.
No, yeah.
That would be, never mind.
I think it should just
Math
be
is hard.
It's the wins. The lowest average wins. The 2 people with the lowest average wins. If there have to be a tiebreaker, we'll do randomized decks.
Right, like
between both players pick Pally.
I think just Rand filling a deck is fine.
And then just playing one game.
One
play
game.
one game, yeah.
One game. That's it.
Simplicity,
And
mate.
The chat seems to think that a Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers duet is our best bet.
We already had a suggestion earlier. What was that one, Mike? Do you remember? There was an email that was sent in that was like the top 50 duets of all time or something like that.
Yes.
And there was a suggestion on there as well.
I'll find it real quick.
So basically, here's the plan then, right? Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say over the next week, send in your request for duet.
Yeah.
Whatever, the best duet is, we'll do that. Well, I say we, but what I really mean is Matt and Mushu.
Okay.
Please, I'm using my overlay and winning this shit.
You don't want to sing?
No, I want to watch you guys. I'd rather watch you guys sing than sing.
Oh, come on.
Well, not even that. It's just like I just want to crush you guys in arena drafts.
It is, yeah.
Yep.
All right.
That's my strat.
I found it. It's "Endless Love" by Diana Ross and Lionel Richie.
Oh, that was the other suggestion.
Circa
That's right.
1981.
So maybe that's the song. I don't know. I guess it's up to the duettaires. Is that even a word? The duettaires, the duetters, to decide which duet they really want to sing together. I would love to do like Aladdin's "I Can Show You the World." That's my go-to.
The world.
Sparkling, shimmering splendor.
Oh my god! All right, so here's the other thing. So you got to record it, and you record it with like earphones in your head so you can sing over it. But the recording is going to be just your voice, and I'm going to dub it, the two people together, and make it like a full production of it. Like it's going to be fantastic. That's what it's going to be.
I like it.
All right.
Sparkling, shimmering splendor, over, sideways, and under, on a magic carpet ride.
I'm kind of drawn into this. I want to lose so I can do this with Fred. A whole new world. A magic place. Don't you wait, it gets better.
Oh, Vando just said kiss the girl. Oh my god. Oh, the keeps getting better.
Don't be scared.
Then you kiss the girl.
Yeah.
Like that. Okay, so the challenge is four runs of arena.
4 runs, okay.
One of them's gone. Your worst, you ban your worst one basically,
okay.
And then you report back your top 3. And the loser or losers, there'll be 2 losers. The bottom 2, not losers. The winners, the bottom 2 that is, are going to be doing a duet. Correct?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Cool.
And you have until the end of the month.
End of the month. Cool. Plenty of time.
Okay.
So the new year will be the beginning of the duet year.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be my New Year's resolution to sing a duet.
Can
with everyone on the podcast?
And can we take screenshots of our decks? Not for like cheating purposes. I mean, this is fun, so I don't expect anyone to cheat. But just to be like, hey, this is what I had, just for fun.
Sure.
Just talk about it.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Because I'd be interested to see that too. Because like if somebody goes 12-0, I'd be like, all right, what you got? What you built? Please share.
Sure.
All right.
I'll probably finish mine this week, so you guys, I can give you a points.
Right.
I play about 4 to 5 arena runs a week.
So when he goes 2 and 3 times, he's like, all right, so here's what I got. You guys have 3 more weeks. I'm just going to go ahead and sing.
Yeah, I'll do my half of the duet. You pick whatever song you want to add to this.
Brad's the only one of us who has to be honest because he has people watching him on stream.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I intend to lie.
Mushu's like, no, I'm already going to tell you I'm going to win. That's just how it is.
Mushu's like, I averaged 13 wins. I don't know how it happened.
I went
but
13 and -1 3 times. Like, what's your problem, guys?
Right.
Oh man. All right. So that is that. Anything else? Are we holding our pieces?
Hold my pieces.
Yep, pieces being held.
Thanks to the chat for showing up. All the people who showed up in chat for a little bit. We had a good rotation of people coming in. Hopefully people will tell their friends and we'll get some more and the live show will be more fun. But Yeah. Send in your emails. Join us in chat. We're planning a live stream that's going forward, so it should be fun.
Yeah. We have a surprise next week, so be looking forward to that. If you're should be, unless something comes at the last minute and changes. But if you are involved in the community in any other ways, you'll know who these folks are. So big surprise. Look forward to that next week.
Cool.
Other than don't forget you can come view us if you're listening to this audio format. You can find us on Twitch at Death Rattle Crew. We record generally 7 p.m. Wednesday nights Eastern Standard Time. You can write into us at mail@deathrattlecrew.com. Websites www.deathrattlecrew.com. Twitter, Death Rattle Crew. Just search that. We are everywhere. We've t-shirts, mugs. No, we don't have any of that yet. If we had them, that'd be good. I need to get shirts. I still haven't gotten those shirts.
Gotta get the shirts going.
You know, I actually emailed 2 companies about it. None of them got back to me. Maybe they're like, "Oh, you freaking."
These guys are already wearing shirts. They're not
shirts.
naked.
Actually, I bet Jeremy's naked right now. He keeps talking about.
Absolutely.
That's why he's
Always.
not video streaming, because we can't be shirtless on stream. That's what this is. Oh, damn it! All right. So yeah, that is, ladies and gentlemen, episode 45 of the Death Rattle Crew. You will find us next week again for episode 46, because 46 comes after 45. I am Tac2. I'm joined by the legend formerly known as Jeremy, Matt Mushuhill,
Journey.
And Bradford Lee. And we will see you next week.
Peace.
Take care.
That was a weak Australia, Matt.
Great.
Yeah.
There we go. Much better.
Weak like the
Whatever.
dollar. Weak like the dollar.
Oh, he hurt us. He hurt us deep.